Hello, I'm Jacqueline Holstead, and you are listening to On Point Conversations. In this podcast series, we share creative marketing, content, and branding strategies that help your business successfully navigate the new normal marketing environment. In today's podcast, I'm going to be talking about creating successful consultant experiences. Many leaders today, this is pre-COVID and now in COVID, and even after COVID, they're using internal and external consultants. And the return on advice that they get from these consultants depends a lot on who's receiving it. So today we're going to talk about what things you can do prior to hiring a consultant, and then also what things you can do while you have that consultant in your employ to make a better experience for both you and the consultant. How much you get involved, and I'm talking about you from a standpoint of the business owner, and how much insight and knowledge and ideas and shepherding you do to take this process through your company itself, to get things like buy-in and approvals to recommendations and ideas presented along the way with the time and the resources backing to accomplish that goal, is going to make this relationship much better. Giving professional advice is a really big business. The global management consulting market today is worth almost $160 billion. It employs nearly 1 million people in the U.S. But looking more carefully about, is that money spent really well, and by what's the return on all that advice? And that, it goes back to who's receiving it. So the most effective leaders that I've worked with, and I've done this 20 years plus, I've worked both as a consultant in an agency and also now in my own business for quite some time. And in both those roles as a more external consultant and then an internal consultant, there was really something that made the relationships much better between the client and myself. And essentially, that was the ability to work together. Because what you're doing as a business leader, team leader, CEO, or whatever stand you have in the organization, you're commissioning experts and advisors from a leadership guidance position to come in and offer consulting, whether it's marketing consulting, executive consulting, team consulting. So you want to engage that particular consultant in the best way possible because it is not inexpensive and it can get down a rabbit hole and you can both be unhappy about how things turn out and it can be that this was not the way it started. So the very first thing you want to do as a business leader is know what you're trying to solve. And I don't mean just from a very simplistic overview standpoint, like we might say, well, we need to increase sales. But what are those factors that inhibit your company from creating sales? Is it sales and marketing crisis between the two of them? They don't work together well. Is there a marketing issue? Is it a cultural issue? Is it a communications issue? So you want to know up front clearly what you're identifying as your key issues or problems that you really need new ideas for, insights, and solutions from someone outside the company. Now, as I said, I don't want you to oversimplify the problem. You don't want to make it so complex that there's never going to be a solution for it, but not oversimplifying it either. And some leaders, what will happen is they're going to rely on a whole lot of trusted advisors. You want to make sure that when you're putting this advisor kind of team together, that they're working on either different things and they're very specific to what that consultant has to offer. The first thing I stress among the team leaders and the people hiring the consultant is you have to have somewhat of a humble mindset. You have to be willing to accept help and take help, and that's sometimes hard to achieve. So as a business leader, you have to be open to learning something new, open to listening, open to the critiques that come along with what you're trying to do, and open to the ideas. I offer coaching executives a distinction between being right and being effective. So you can be right, but not effective. So it's not bad to say as a business leader, I don't know, or I might be wrong. That's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of this is what we're looking for in this consultant. And work with that consultant as a team partner, not as a vendor. I've worked with companies before who consider the consulting relationship to be a vendor relationship. And what happens when that happens and you get into that realm is you're basically being told what they want. And you're executing or made to feel like you should execute on what the client wants. But if it's not in their best interest, then you need to go back and say, no, we really should look at it this way, or here's another way. Then the client isn't open to it because they see you as a vendor. They see you as somebody you're simply buying something from. You're not buying thought, you're buying a product. So be open. And if you are a consultant, consider that relationship first. Is that relationship going to also be advantageous for you as a consultant? If there's too much of an overconfidence on either the team leader or the person at the company side or on the consultant, it's very vulnerable to have a very bad relationship. So we need to both be willing to ask for help. In fact, it's a sign of strength to know your limitations and act accordingly and with humility, because it's a sure route to effectiveness and results. And that really lies in both areas. For example, I'm not a consultant in certain areas. So my first step with any client, and I don't charge for this, is we spend an hour or maybe 2 hours talking about what they're looking for. Sometimes if it's really clear and it's not something that I have an expertise in or that I feel I can help with, then I can say up front, I'm not the consultant for you, but I might be able to refer you to someone, or I might be able to help you hone that issue in a little bit further, and then you can take it to someone else who can help you with that. So it's knowing what the consultant's strengths are, and it's knowing what you really, as a team leader, as a person from the company, what you really need. There also needs to be this really good interpersonal relationship and skill. So it's a discussion from adult to adult. And what I mean by that is, if you're working with someone from a client side who's very overconfident and really thinks they know exactly what they want, and they really have already diagnosed this, and everything is here, and they don't want to hear anything else, then what you basically have is almost a parent-to-child situation, which is not a good working situation for a consultant. It's not a good working situation in general, but is definitely not in this particular case and what we're talking about. So you really want to be in a relationship that's adult to adult. You can bring in information, they can bring in information, and neither one of you are going to walk away taking your toys home. You're going to stick together and work together on this, because no matter what you do, there are probably going to be some conflicts as you work together, and particularly when you're working on certain problems. And that's why the person who is the team leader in the company has to also be helping shepherd the company through, particularly if it's things like a cultural change or an attitude change, or there's a crisis between how sales and marketing works together. Then you really need to have those people buy in, not just be told what they need to do, but buy into these new ideas and these new things. People generally don't like change. If they're involved in it, if they see the process, if they have a say in some things, they're generally more open to saying, we'll try that and we'll try to make it work, not try to make it fail. I would like you to also think about how, if you're the team leader, how you can approach your company with this. And initially, when you've identified the problem, you've already gotten those key decision makers in place before you even bring the consultant on. So that way, you're set in this area. Now, when the consultant comes on, they may see something else. So you do have to be pliable to say, okay, we identified this problem. The consultant comes in and maybe sees something else, because they're coming in from a third-party perspective, which is what you want. You want them to see your way you function. You want them to see your company. You want them to see the things that you're doing internally. from a third-party detached perspective. You want them to be passionate and interested in your company, but if they're detached, they're better able to look at where those issues are, and they're also better able to solve those types of issues that you might have, or present them in such a way that you can present to your upper management so that they're positive ideas and ways to change if that's necessary. So as I emphasized before, don't oversimplify the issues at hand or underestimate what it's going to take to create results. And don't treat your consultant as just a transactional vendor, because that's not going to get you where you want to go if these are higher level issues. For example, you might say, I'm going to hire a consultant to come in and build us a new website. That's very transactional. That's a website. Now, when the consultant comes in, what they should be asking you is, why do you need a new website? What are we doing with that website? And probably that's not going to be your key issue. If you say, well, our sales are really slacking because we don't have a good website, there are probably other things also that are going on that you want help with the consultant from all those ends. And it might be a different consultant. It might be that before you even get into where you hire someone to do your website, you're now going back and looking at what do we need to make strengthen sales, and that will actually roll into what you need into a new website. While our work is high quality, these leaders not only pay the cost of a missed opportunity, they also run the risk of not addressing the issues they're trying to resolve. So we want situations where there's a high quality relationship, but we also don't want to miss any opportunities, and we want to make sure that we're addressing the issues that we're needing to resolve. You have to be open to change, and you have to be able to change really on both sides. You have to be open to new ideas and new insights, and really willing to learn and explore, and willing to listen, even if that idea that comes out from either the consultant or from the team leader side is no way going to work. Don't stop that right away. Keep moving into a direction where you can more and more build on that, and they can more and more see maybe that's not the right direction. Maybe there's something else. So your mindset has to be very open. That's how you're going to get the most out of your engagement, both from your consultant and from the team leader side. So once you face the issues and you're considering the help of an advisor, then here's what I would like you to do first. Put together a very, as much as you can, detailed situational assessment of where you are right now. So really ask yourself, and this is from the team leader or the CEO or the company side, what kind of help is going to make the biggest difference to me and my company? Because wise executives are going to very carefully consider what types of problems they're faced with, and they're going to know the nature of the help that they need. Now, again, this isn't just one consultant. A leader can have several different consultants or many different consultants, but you want to know specifically for each of those consultants what they're trying to solve. So maybe you need some expert technical input, or you need leadership counseling. So I'm very much taking the point of what do you need and then doing that situation assessment. So let's say, for example, you know that there's conflicts between sales and marketing. Look clearly at what is the situation between those two now, so that when the consultant comes in, you have a basis for that. Let's say that you want to redo your content marketing program. So again, a situational assessment is where you would have everything that you've already done, already tried with the stats. How did they do? How did they, if you did Facebook ads, how do those Facebook ads do? If you did a new website, are you watching the statistics of the analytics of it, so that you really have a basis of a situation analysis for that particular project. We're going to talk about this subject in the future too, because I really want to make sure that no matter who you hire, whether you even worked with me, that there's the right mix with the right challenges, with the right people in place, in order to get the most from your dollars that you're going to be spending with the marketing consultant or a consultant in general, leadership consultant, a team consultant, any kind of consultant that you hire. And the one thing I also want to just touch on right now too is